Letter 33 by Charles Lamb. No date, early summer 1798. Whether God loves a lying angel better than a true man. Whether the archangel Uriel could affirm an untruth, and if he could whether he would. Whether honesty be an angelic virtue, or not rather to be reckoned among those qualities which the schoolmen term virtues minus splendido et terri et homines participes. Whether the higher order of seraphim illuminati ever sneer. Whether pure intelligences can love. Whether the seraphim ardents do not manifest their virtues by the way of vision and theory, and whether practice be not a subcelestial and merely human virtue. Whether the vision beatific be anything more or less than a perpetual representment to each individual angel of his own present attainments and future capabilities, somehow in the manner of mortal looking-glasses, reflecting a perpetual complacency and self-satisfaction. 8. And last, whether an immortal and amenable soul may not come to be damned at last, and the man never suspect it beforehand. Learned sir, my friend, presuming on our long habits of friendship, and emboldened further by your late liberal permission to avail myself of your correspondence, in case I want any knowledge, which I intend to do when I have no encyclopedia or ladies' magazine at hand to refer to in any matter of science, I now submit to your inquiries the above theological propositions, to be by you defended or oppugned or both, in the schools of Germany, whither I am told you are departing, to the utter dissatisfaction of your native Devonshire and regret of universal England. But to my own individual consolation, if through the channel of your wished return, learn, sir, my friend, may be transmitted to this our island, from those famous theological wits of Leipzig and Göttingen any rays of illumination, in vain to be derived from the home growth of our English halls and colleges. Finally, wishing, learned sir, that you may see Schiller and swing in a wood, vide poems, and sit upon a tun, and eat fat hams of Westphalia. I remain your friend and docile pupil to instruct Charles Lamb, 1798. To S.T. Coleridge. Lamb's last letter to Coleridge for 2 years. See note to the next letter. Lamb's reading of Thomas Aquinas probably was at the base of his theses. William Godwin, in his History of Knowledge, Learning and Taste in Great Britain, which had run through some years of the New Annual Register, cited in 1786 a number of the more grotesque queries of the old schoolmen. Mr. Kegan-Paul suggested that Lamb went to Godwin for his examination paper, but I should think this very unlikely. Some of the questions hit Coleridge very hard. This letter was first printed by Joseph Cottle in his Early Recollections, 1837, with the remark, "Mr. Coleridge gave me this letter, saying, 'These young visionaries will do each other no good.'" It marks an epoch in Lamb's life, since it brought about, or at any rate clinched, the only quarrel that ever subsisted between Coleridge and himself. The story is told in Charles Lamb and the Lloyds. Briefly, Lloyd had left Coleridge in the spring of 1797. A little later, in a state of much perplexity, he had carried his troubles to Lamb, and to Southey, between whom and Coleridge no very cordial feeling had existed for some time, rather than to Coleridge himself, his late mentor. That probably fanned the flame. The next move came from Coleridge. He printed in the Monthly Magazine for November 1797 3 sonnets signed Nehemiah Higginbottom, burlesquing instances of affectation of unaffectedness, and puny pathos in the poems of himself, of Lamb, and of Lloyd, the humour of which Lamb probably did not much appreciate, since he believed in the feelings expressed in his verse, while Lloyd was certainly unfitted to esteem it. Coleridge affected even more than he had contemplated, for Southey took the sonnet upon simplicity as an attack upon himself, which did not, however, prevent him, a little later, from a similar exercise in ponderous humour under the too similar name of Abel Shufflebottom. In March 1798, when a new edition of Coleridge's 1797 poems was in contemplation, Lloyd wrote to Cottle, the publisher, asking that he would persuade Coleridge to omit his Lloyd's portion, a request which Coleridge probably resented, but which gave him the opportunity of replying that no persuasion was needed for the omission of verses published at the earnest request of the author. Meanwhile, a worse offence than all against Coleridge was perpetrated by Lloyd. In the spring of 1798 was published at Bristol his novel, Edmund Oliver, dedicated to Lamb, in which Coleridge's experiences in the army, under the alias of Silas Tomkin Cumberbatch, in 1790–1794, and certain of Coleridge's peculiarities, including his drug habit, were utilized. Added to this, Lloyd seems to have repeated both to Lamb and Southey, in distorted form, certain things which Coleridge had said of them, either in confidence, or at any rate with no wish that they should be repeated, with the result that Lamb actually went so far as to take sides with Lloyd against his older friend. The following extracts from a letter from Coleridge to Lamb, which I am permitted by Mr. Ernest Hartley Coleridge to print, carries the story a little farther. Spring of 1798. Dear Lamb, Lloyd has informed me through Miss Wordsworth that you intend no longer to correspond with me. This has given me little pain, not that I do not love and esteem you, but on the contrary because I am confident that your intentions are pure. You are performing what you deem a duty, and humanly speaking have that merit which can be derived from the performance of a painful duty. Painful, for you would not without struggles abandon me in behalf of a man Lloyd who, wholly ignorant of all but your name, became attached to you in consequence of my attachment, caught his from my enthusiasm, and learned to love you at my fireside, when often while I have been sitting and talking of your sorrows and afflictions I have stopped my conversations, and lifted up wet eyes and prayed for you. No, I am confident that, although you do not think as a wise man, you feel as a good man. From you I have received little pain, because for you I suffer little alarm. I cannot say this for your friend. It appears to me evident that his feelings are vitiated, and that his ideas are in their combination merely the creatures of those feelings. I have received letters from him, and the best and kindest wish which, as a Christian, I can offer in return is that he may feel remorse. When I wrote to you that my sonnet to Simplicity was not composed with reference to Southey, you answered me, I believe these were the words. It was a lie too gross for the grossest ignorance to believe, and I was not angry with you, because the assertion which the grossest ignorance would believe a lie the omniscient knew to be truth. This, however, makes me cautious not too hastily to affirm the falsehood of an assertion of Lloyd's, that in Edmund Oliver's Love Fit, leaving college, and going into the army he had no sort of allusion to or recollection of my love fit, leaving college, and going into the army, and that he never thought of my person in the description of Oliver's person in the first letter of the second volume. This cannot appear stranger to me than my assertion did to you, and therefore I will suspend my absolute faith. I have been unfortunate in my connections. Both you and Lloyd became acquainted with me when your minds were far from being in a composed or natural state, and you clothed my image with a suit of notions and feelings which could belong to nothing human. You are restored to comparative saneness, and are merely wondering what is become of the Coleridge with whom you were so passionately in love. Charles Lloyd's mind has only changed his disease, and he is now arraying his ci devant angel in a flaming San Benito, the whole ground of the garment, a dark brimstone and plenty of little devils flourished out in black. Oh me! Lamb, even in laughter the heart is sad. God bless you, St. Coleridge. One other passage. In a letter from Lloyd at Birmingham to Cartle dated June 1798, Lloyd says in response to Cartle's suggestion that he should visit Coleridge, I love Coleridge and can forget all that has happened. At present I could not well go to Stowey. Lamb quitted me yesterday after a fortnight's visit. I have been much interested in his society. I never knew him so happy in my life. I shall write to Coleridge today. Coleridge left for Germany in September. Schiller and Swing in a Wood, an allusion to Coleridge's sonnet to Schiller. Ah, bard tremendous in sublimity, could I behold thee in thy loftier mood wandering at eve with finely frenzied eye beneath some vast old tempest-swinging wood. Here should perhaps come Lamb's first letter to Robert Lloyd, not available for this edition, but printed by Canon Ainger, and in Charles Lamb and the Lloyds, where it is dated October. Lamb's first letter is one of advice, apparently in reply to some complaints of his position addressed to him by Lloyd. A second and longer letter which, though belonging to August 1798, may be mentioned here also counsels, commending the use of patience and humility. Lamb is here seen in the character of a spiritual adviser. The letter is unique in his correspondence. Robert Lloyd was a younger brother of Charles Lloyd, and Lamb had probably met him when on his visit to Birmingham in the summer. The boy, then not quite 20, was apprenticed to a Quaker draper at Saffron Walden in Essex.